There are some places on Earth that feel more like a myth than a location. It might be that ridiculously scenic photo from Instagram, or it might be a known location where planes, boats, and other human transportation devices vanish from the face of the Earth. When you get on a boat, there's always a chance that it might sink. When you get on a plane, there's always a chance that it might go down. But are there really areas where these terrible outcomes are more likely? According to myth and legend, there just might be. My name is Brienne, and I'm the host and creator of Among the Dirt and Trees, a show where we discuss true crime cases that occur out in nature. In this episode, we're going to take a step away from the murder side of true crime and discuss some disappearances instead. We're going to talk about one area where countless people have gone missing in particular: the Bermuda Triangle. Since a lot of you expressed an interest in some of nature's more peculiar hidden mysteries, I've decided to check out one of the more interesting locations on Earth. Technically, when people go missing, we consider it a true crime story, but I think it's fair to say that the Bermuda Triangle is quite a bit bigger than some of the more traditional true crime. Hundreds of vessels have been lost to this particular area, and their passengers have disappeared from the surface of the Earth. So, what is the deal here? Is nature literally claiming countless planes and boats? Is there some ghostly murderer taking its vengeance upon any human who dares to pass a certain point? Are sirens luring people from their crafts to feast upon their flesh? Honestly, we'll probably never know, but we can certainly discuss some of the mysterious circumstances that these people disappeared under. When a legendary place takes on a highly recognizable name, there's generally not an easily defined origin. In a lot of cases, a bunch of people start calling a spot by a certain name, and that's kind of the best that we can do to pinpoint where the name came from, by the people who shared it. The Bermuda Triangle, however, got its name in a very specific way, in a magazine article. Now, if you are anything like me, there is a good chance that you have just assumed that the Bermuda Triangle has always been the Bermuda Triangle. When I think of the Bermuda Triangle, I think of a location on Earth that's been haunting humanity for ages. Or a space that's at least older than the United States, you know? As far as I'm concerned, the Bermuda Triangle has been terrorizing the planet for longer than we have. But with a little research, I learned that my beliefs were actually completely wrong. Even though there are a seemingly endless amount of cases surrounding strange Bermuda Triangle activity, the Bermuda Triangle wasn't really a thing until 1964. This was the year that an author first created the name Bermuda Triangle after a few odd events. Obviously, the area had a reputation before it was named, but the fact that the most common name was settled on in 1964 just pretty much blew my mind. I honestly thought that pirates were sitting around the decks of their ships whispering about the Bermuda Triangle, and while that is certainly possible, they would have called it something different, which is a pretty interesting thought. While researching the origin of this space, I actually learned something pretty funny. Apparently, the US Board of Geographic Names is a particularly defiant group and refuses to acknowledge the Bermuda Triangle by its name. I kind of have to assume that this is just a seriously bizarre hill that someone in an office is choosing to die on, but you should all be aware that according to the official US name folks, who exist apparently, the Bermuda Triangle isn't real. Assuming that you are just completely unaware of global mysteries, the Bermuda Triangle is a space out in the ocean that has seen a lot of disappearances. While plenty of things can go wrong while flying over the ocean or sailing out in open water, the Bermuda Triangle has a reputation for some pretty strange events. The most disturbing part of the story surrounding the Bermuda Triangle is just how many people have gone missing. That's the common theme with this area. A lot of people have disappeared within this unholy triangle, and the area has been a source of countless rumors and stories because of it. It is known for a few core things: its long list of disappearances, strange influences on technology, and the general fear factor. Growing up, I had a weirdly irrational fear of the Bermuda Triangle, as if I was just going to frequently be traveling through the area for whatever reason. But between you, me, and everyone else who downloads this episode, I've got some plans down the line that involve a boat and a lot of open water, so the Bermuda Triangle might be a bigger concern for me at some point. Since we've established that the Bermuda Triangle is bad news, we can now cut to the true crime side of this bizarre area. There have been plenty of Bermuda Triangle cases, so we're going to talk through a few of them. Out of every strange Bermuda Triangle story, there's one that really carried the area to notoriety. Back in 1945, the Navy sent 5 bombers into the Bermuda Triangle. They were supposed to be carrying out a standard bombing practice, which is a very weird sentence to say out loud. But when these bombers left, the men aboard them were simply heading out for a routine day of work. Their job was only to test how the bombs would work. It should have been a quick run, in and out. Unfortunately, the exercise didn't go as planned. During this test flight, the leader became lost. He experienced some troubles with his compass and was no longer able to direct those around him. All 5 planes flew around, lost and confused, until they ran out of fuel and presumably had to jump out into the sea. By all accounts, the pilots should have been alive, and this is even more true considering the fact that a rescue plane was sent out to help them that same day. Unfortunately, the Bermuda Triangle had other plans. Rescuers were called in to locate the missing pilots, and the situation got a lot worse. The rescue plane also disappeared, and after a few weeks, the official Navy report had to announce their unexplainable loss. 27 men disappeared that day without a trace. Now, I know what you're thinking here. You're thinking, the Bermuda Triangle probably isn't that dangerous, right? Those were older times, older ships. Maybe pirates, sailors, and aircraft passengers in old times vanished, but that's not still happening, right? If you were an anxious person, I have bad news for you. At the beginning of this year, some of us were setting up new goals and habits. Some of us were trying to recover from the disaster that was 2020, and some of us were just hoping that 2021 wouldn't be any worse than 2020. But for some people, 2021 never came. On December 28th, 2020, a boat left the Bahamas with the intent of arriving in Florida a few hours later. As far as boat trips go, this one wasn't overly complex. It was short and sweet, and plenty of people have made this journey successfully. Unfortunately, that was not the case here. When this ship left, it vanished without a trace, and 20 people vanished with it. The Coast Guard went right to work seeking out the boat the moment that it was reported missing, but their efforts were fruitless. Despite the fact that these professionals explored over 17,000 square miles of sea, which is in fact quite a lot, their search did not turn up anything. It is as if the entire craft simply disappeared from the ocean completely, and that tends to be a common theme here. Something that struck me as weird about this missing persons case was how tight-lipped everyone seemed about it. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in the protocol involved with sharing information on disappearances like this, but it seemed odd that no real details were given about the boat and the individuals on board. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, my first thought was, were these people having a boat party in the middle of a pandemic? Obviously, it is horrible that these individuals were lost, but I really am curious about what was going on here. I don't know if someone just decided that the information wasn't relevant, or if there was something shady going on here, like the people on board were a threat to someone rich and powerful. For now, it seems like the sea has just swallowed these secrets, but nothing was ever found. Stepping back from the more recent tragedies, I wanted to explore one of the more eerie occurrences. Many attribute the first real Bermuda Triangle event to the Mary Celeste, a ship that went missing back in 1872. In general, the ocean is a pretty freaky place. While it is full of beauty and power, it is also the source of countless ghost stories. The Mary Celeste was not just a ghost story. It was a real event, but I do believe that it has inspired countless ghost stories after reading it, including the movie Ghost Ship. If you haven't seen Ghost Ship, you should definitely check it out. It has that gritty 90s adventure movie feel with some seriously spooky stuff sprinkled throughout it, light psychological trauma. The opening scene alone will keep you hooked, but that's all I'm going to say, so you should definitely check it out. And if you do watch it, please message me to share your thoughts, because I haven't gotten to talk about it in a long time, so. Anyway, in the late 1800s, the Mary Celeste was a fairly small ship. Aboard the ship, there was a captain, 7 crew members, and the captain's family, which was his wife and his daughter. The ship departed from New York and it was headed to Italy. The distance for their journey was 4,483 nautical miles. At the time, standard vessels could travel at an average speed of 4 to 6 knots, which means the ship would be at sea for about 46 days. Yes, I literally did math for this episode. Please do not fact check me. Along the way, something strange happened. You're probably assuming that the ship just disappeared. But that actually wasn't the case here. While it did never arrive, the ship carried on its merry way, gliding across the Atlantic Ocean. The people, however, disappeared without a trace. When the Mary Celeste was found, it was a ghost ship. The ship and all of its treasures were there. This ship was loaded down with alcohol and plenty of other valuables, all of which were completely intact and left aboard. On the deck of the ship, there was a sword. Though the obvious solution would be to blame pirates, it just doesn't line up. No pirates would board a ship and make a crew vanish, then leave the valuables. It just doesn't make any sense. It's bad for pirate business, you know? 2 details about this story take it from weird to downright bizarre. First, several of the barrels of alcohol on board were empty. Now, for me, spending that much time at sea would certainly warrant a cocktail or 2. But what justification was there for this? They weren't transporting the alcohol so they could enjoy pina coladas on their cruise. It was meant to be sold. So, what would convince the crew to plow through so much alcohol? Or is there a chance the barrels weren't filled at all? Did the crew throw a rager and then take turns daring each other to walk the plank? Was there a plank? I don't know. But why did they drink their product? Honestly, this detail is probably completely irrelevant that I'm just getting hung up on, but I still found it pretty interesting. Of course, it wasn't quite as interesting as the next detail. The lifeboat was missing. When you are on a boat, having a lifeboat on hand is essential. The sea is unpredictable, whether you are in the Bermuda Triangle or half a mile out from your favorite surf spot. Sometimes, boats sink. Having a lifeboat is a great way to stay safe long enough for a rescue. In general, they are very helpful. In this case, though, using the lifeboat at all made no sense. When the boat was found, it was fine. It was floating. It was in good order. This was the late 1800s, so it was a sailboat. There was no risk of engine failure or anything like that. Aboard the ship, there was upwards of 6 months worth of food and water, which was more than enough to survive. There were no visible signs of distress, no blood, no bodies, no indication that something violent took place. Yet, the Mary Celeste seemed to have lost all of its passengers. The craziest part is that the Bermuda Triangle might not be to blame here. Apparently, this ship had a pretty dodgy history. It had a lot of less than favorable events in its lifetime, and this is actually just one of them. The first captain of this ship died from a sudden illness. The Mary Celeste later crashed into another ship. Then, a crew vanished without a trace, and this ship continued to carry this unpleasant legacy on until it was later intentionally crashed in Haiti. You were probably wondering, why was it crashed? Was it because the ship was evil or haunted? Was it done for the good of all humanity? No. The Mary Celeste was crashed as part of an attempted insurance fraud. All things considered, does seem like some pretty bad luck. The Mary Celeste is a story from history that we will never fully understand, but it is just one other piece of evidence that the Bermuda Triangle is a pretty dangerous place. Or is it? There are endless theories surrounding the Bermuda Triangle and the terrors within it. People love to talk about the ever-growing list of natural and unnatural causes for what is going on in this space. The theories are honestly all over. Some people believe that aliens frequently swoop in and swallow up vessels and passengers for research. I hope that's not it. Others believe that there are giant sea monsters roaming the area looking for something tasty to eat, like a Percy Jackson novel. Some believe that the area is poisoned, that ghosts are haunting it and seeking out revenge. Some scientists believe that the cause might involve vents deep beneath the sea or a problem with the area's magnetism that causes common navigation tools to malfunction. Honestly, I knew what I was getting into when I researched this area, but there was something that I was not prepared for. The fact that the Bermuda Triangle isn't all that dangerous at all. It's easy to look at these stories and assume that most of them are simply a matter of man versus sea or people versus pirates, but then there's the theory that the area is dangerous itself. What if there isn't a reason for these stories at all? What if I told you that there aren't any more disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle than in most other open water spaces across the various oceans? Realizing that the disappearances in this area aren't exactly statistically significant was pretty fascinating to me. On paper, there isn't really a higher than average amount of people who disappear. If anything, it's pretty average. Nothing will change the fact that countless people have gone missing in this area, but it does make you wonder what else we do this with. Is there anything wrong with the Bermuda Triangle at all, or is this just our way of coping with the dangers of the sea in a more manageable way? More importantly, is it better or worse that you are just as likely to vanish over the sea in any other area? The weird part about discussing missing persons cases is that there is no real ending. There is no final answer to the questions that we all have. There is simply an area and a lot of missing planes and boats. Sometimes, in nature, the only witness to these tragedies is nature. In these cases, the story is literally only known by the waves of the ocean and the breeze on the sea. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little twist on true crime out in nature, so let me know how you feel about it. In the next episode, we will be back to exploring a well-documented and easily explained murder, if there is such a thing. In the event that you want to talk true crime, or give me your opinion on the episode, or talk about Ghost Ship, you can reach me on Twitter or Instagram using the tag @datpod. To check out the ad-free versions of my episodes, join the brand new Among the Dirt and Trees Discord community, and gain access to some fun upcoming extras, feel free to become a patron of the show on patreon.com/like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.